Parshas Shemos describes the hardships and suffering Bnei Yisrael underwent in Mitzrayim. Bnei Yisrael's relationship to the traumas they experienced parallel the dynamic of a person who stays and accepts an abusive relationship. Let's explain. Bnei Yisrael, literally the children of Yisrael, of Yaakov, were used to the idea of suffering. Yaakov, who had underwent suffering for much of his life, was used to trial and tribulation. This caused his children to adopt the belief that suffering and challenge is a normal part of the human condition. Although they came to Mitzrayim for food, they found themselves in a compromised life experience of abuse and slavery, mirroring their negative belief of a life of challenge and suffering. Although the pain was excruciating, silence reigned amongst Bnei Yisrael. There was no screaming, there was no crying, there was no voice, because there was acceptance. Acceptance that life equaled suffering. There was no other way. The not normal, in fact, became normal. But then the king died, and a new king rose to power, and suddenly Bnei Yisrael began to cry. Suddenly Hashem heard their pleas. What exactly happened? As the old king died, a break in the slavery ensued. The people finally had a chance to breathe, a chance to think, to notice, to go into the human experience of feeling. They got reacquainted to the human part of self, not the robotic chase it till you make it self. There was a stopping, and that gave them awareness of the sorrowful fate they seemed to all share. As a new king rose to power, and they were forced again into the back-breaking labor of Mitzrayim, the recent reconnecting of self that had brought them to self-awareness shot up from the dark and screamed out, screamed out, "This is not okay," yelled, "Stop this right now." You see, Bnei Yisrael had gotten off the hamster wheel for just a moment, enough to get them to realize that slavery was not what life was about. Suffering was not what life is about. You see, the greatest slavery a person can ever experience is the slavery of unawareness, a lack of touch with the true self, a lack of touch with the abuse that is taking place, and instead, a silence and acceptance of the suffering. When the new king rose to power, Bnei Yisrael went from unconscious, totally unaware of their shattered lives, to suddenly becoming aware of the toxicity and dysfunction they were steeped in. When Hashem had told Moshe to speak to the people, Moshe said, "I can't speak." He said, "I can't speak because there is no one to speak to." You can't speak to someone that is completely cut off from self. You cannot speak to someone that is oblivious to the discomfort or pain of their life. Only when there is awareness can there be growth and change for the better. After Bnei Yisrael became conscious and aware of their brutal life, they yelled out a scream, and only then does Hashem reflect that awareness back down and starts the process of transformation from slavery to free men. Where are we in the paradigm of consciousness? Are we unaware? Are we running on the hamster wheel, clueless to a life we can absolutely love? Where are we holding in relationships? Are we oblivious to dynamics that can change and evolve in a way that breeds health and wholeness? Or have we settled with how it is and accept a compromised relationship or watered down version of something that can be so much greater? The choice to stop, think, and reconnect to our true self, true desires, needs, and wishes lie in our hands. So let's wake up to the call and high and lean into the freedom that consciousness and awareness brings.